Well, and now moving on, one team that kind of, you say that Jacksonville let up a lot of points. The one thing I was looking at today, another defense that kind of let up a few amount of points in their games, if that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense, is the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, Jacksonville, 28 points per game. Indy not that far behind them, 25.5 points per game is the one they were giving up. Here's the only thing about Indy that I want to bring up before we get into the hot topics of Andrew Luck and his contract extension is the way the season went. Luck played the first 3, then Hasselbeck for 2, Luck for 4, and then Hasselbeck 11 through 17. Well, 11 through 16, and then Freeman for 17. You look at the 45-10 loss to Pittsburgh, the 51-16 loss at Jacksonville, and I look at it and go, it would have been different if Luck was playing.
Oh, definitely.
It would have been different. The game would have been managed differently. The defense wouldn't have been on their toes as much. So I kind of look at those 2 games in particular and go, maybe that's because Luck wasn't playing.
Now, this team was super mediocre last year. They were just not good. They weren't terrible.
My AFC Super Bowl pick, by the way.
Kiss of death. Of course. Now, they just were not very good. But part of the big thing is going to be not having your leader out there, not having Andrew Luck, the guy who everyone believes in. Now, the thing that they're doing here, because although, let's be fair, Andrew Luck was not great while he was out there. He definitely was having his late sophomore slump. I mean, it's his 3rd year, but he was having what is basically a sophomore slump.
Could you count a sophomore slump with the injury? Or was that just...
But even when he was out there, he was bad.
Yeah, but I mean...
He was not good while he was out there.
Yeah, I'll take it. It was one of those things where I was saying this was maybe a bad season overall just because of the injury in total, but I do look at the passing numbers, 240... Nothing as high as was 260 to start the season. Then he gets injured. And then when he came back after those 2 games, it was 312, 333. Then it fell back off. So basically he did better after missing those 2 games. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he did have a slow start.
Now, it's, he's a guy who is going to come back. He's going to bounce back. No one's doubting Andrew Luck here. The rest of the team, it's the question of can the rest of the team get to where they need to be for this? That's the problem that Peyton Manning found himself in a lot of times. The rest of the team wasn't at that same level, so they couldn't get it done enough. And I don't see anything really that different going on for the Colts. They find themselves in that same situation. They went and they hit the offensive line hard because Andrew Luck, speaking of getting hit hard, Andrew Luck got hit really fucking hard.
That's why he got
all
injured.
the time. All the time he was getting hit. So the first thing they do, they need somebody on the line. They go and they grab people to get on the line. They try and improve the defense too because the defense was bad. The unfortunate thing for Andrew Luck early on in his career, which looked really great because he was carrying this team in a really bad division, it's not like that anymore. The other teams are good too, and your team has kind of lingered behind. They really haven't done anything to get any splashes out there, at least as far as I'm concerned. The guys that they went out there to get, like a guy like Frank Gore, didn't really pan out that well. It wasn't the splash that they really were hoping to get. So all those big moves that they make haven't done anything that great for them. And they kind of have... It's almost like they're trying in free agency and everything they're trying is not working. Like they're not evaluating their talent that well. They're wasting their money in that case.
I look at free agency and they didn't really bring in much. I mean, their biggest losses are Kobe Fleener. He's now in New Orleans.
Which isn't a big loss.
Jarrell Freeman, who's now in Chicago with
is a little
Chicago
bit bigger of
Bears.
a loss.
And I mean, Dwight Lowry, also a loss in the secondary for him. But what they bring in is Patrick Robinson, cornerback from San Diego, and then Jordan Todman and Robin Turbin, the 2 running backs from Dallas and Pittsburgh. Turbin originally had most of his success with the Seattle Seahawks. But I mean, there's also other players that didn't get signed elsewhere. That Andre Johnson's not on this team. He was actually cut. Jack Doyle, tight end. Colt Anderson, safety. Dwayne Allen signed. It says right there on my screen. I should read a little bit better. But there are some of these places, Jonathan Newsom also was cut. It was one of those things where it's like they let a lot of people go, and they just didn't, like the free agents they brought in, I'd look and I go, eh.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't do anything to get a splash. I don't know if they're just kind of counting on the fact that...
Is this because of what's coming up where Jim Irsay says Andrew Luck will be signed by training camp and they got to reserve some of that money for that?
You have to think it is. You have to think they're saving money.
Because that's a big thing.
But I think a lot of it was they had quite a few draft picks, and they said we went and we spent a lot of money on the line. We spent a lot on defense. We got linebackers, we got safeties, we got defensive tackle. We addressed some of these positions. We're trying to build with youth because the free agent signings they have been doing have not been working. So I think they're trying to kind of reassess their mentality of the way they're trying to build this team and get it going that way because you have Andrew Luck. You don't need that much else to be successful. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to be extremely successful. They're going to find themselves in that same pattern of we're good enough, we can get to the playoffs, we're going to get beat because these other teams are better teams, and this is Andrew Luck and the boys. It's just not going to be very comparable. I don't want to be too down on the Indianapolis Colts. I don't want anybody getting mad at me for this.
We're not saying that they're going to be bottom feeders.
They're pretty average.
Well, and here's the thing I think of is the way I see the Colts is, first off, if you're sitting there from a salary cap standpoint, you may be saying, well, okay, I want Andrew Luck's contract locked up before the season starts because if we don't, if he has a big season, we're going to have to owe him more money. However, the way I see it is I kind of think you roll the dice and let him go into the season without a new contract extension. The reason why I say that is he's going to play out of his mind, which is good for your team. You'll make the playoffs. The bad way on that is now you got to see, he played really well. Now I have to pay him more money.
I say just get it done. You're going to pay this guy big bucks anyways. He's going to get his big boy money because he's Andrew Luck. He is the best young quarterback there is out there right now. Possibly
one of the best now that Peyton Manning's no longer in the game. Yeah. Like Peyton Manning leaves, Andrew Luck just goes up one slot.
He gets elevated. He's going to be one of the best for sure. He's going to be great. He's going to be an Indianapolis Colts quarterback for his entire career, unless they pull another Peyton Manning and just let him go at the end of it. He's going to be there. So just get that deal done. I mean, what are you waiting for? Obviously, the terms aren't exactly what they want, but you have to pay this guy money. He's going to be one of the highest paid quarterbacks, if not the highest paid quarterback in the league. You just have to get it done. You got to swallow that bullet. You got to make it happen. Because it's not like you're spending that money anywhere else. You're waiting and saving that money so you can sign Andrew Luck. So just do it. Just give him that deal.
You know who I'm looking at this? See, there's two people, and they're both offensive players that need to have big seasons for the Colts.
What's that?
One has to be Philip Dorsett. Last year, I was ranting and raving about this kid out of Miami because I thought he was going to be a quality option for them in the slot. Hasn't been. And then also Frank Gore. I'm not expecting you to be the Frank Gore you were with the 49ers, but
he's got to do something.
Come on, man. You got to do something for this team. You have to be able to maybe put the team on your back a couple times. You have to be better than what you were last season. And to me, this Colt team, the biggest thing that's going to be standing in their way is the next team we're going to talk about, the Houston Texans, because they went out, and if Jacksonville had the best free agency time of this division, the Texans did even better. I mean, they bring in Lamar Miller. They bring in Brock the Cock-a-doodle-doo. They bring in Jeff Allen on the offensive line straight from Kansas City. You got Antonio Allen. You've got Tony Bergstrom. And their two biggest losses, we mentioned Ben Jones, he's in Tennessee, and Brandon Brooks, he's in Philly. Okay, I can live with that. Yep. With what I brought in with Miller, Osweiler, and Allen being your top three.
They definitely did quite a bit, the Houston Texans, without really going out and doing a ton, if that makes sense. They didn't have much that they really had to fill in. They just needed those little pieces here and there because this defense is fucking terrifying. This defense should be really fucking good. They weren't as great as they should have been last year, that's for sure, but they're going to just gel and do even better as the years go by, getting 2 wide receivers in the draft, one of which, Braxton Miller, doesn't have to be that great.
He just has to be an offensive weapon for them.
Exactly. If he can do that, we all know Will Fuller is going to be the real deal. Brock Osweiler's got his options. He's got his good defense. Things aren't that much different than when he was over in Denver.
And they don't have to deal with Arian Foster anymore.
That's true.
Because they cut him. They cut his ass. He's no longer on the team.
He's not in the NFL at the moment.
Yeah. And I mean, the big thing for this team is I do want to say this is the first time in a long time I've been able to kind of talk about this part of it. This is kind of like a little MVP aside kind of a thing. There was one podcast that we did that, Mark, I'll be honest, it was not, from my standpoint, if I'm looking at it from a critique standpoint, wasn't some of our best work when we looked at Brock the Cock when he finally signed with the Texans, because I listened to that podcast and you know what's the first thing I thought of? How the fuck did I miss Lamar Miller?
Yeah.
How did I miss him not being on this team? I mean, this is a team that they've got to be the favorites. They've got to be the favorites to win this division. And to me, I mean, I want to bring the Colts back into it because of what this Texan team has done this offseason. If I'm a Colt fan, I'm sitting there going, well, shit, our time at the top, that window might be slamming closed this year. It may be slamming closed.
Andrew Luck's got a lot of work to do if that team wants to get back to the top. Because they're a team that is relying a lot on Andrew Luck. They do have other pieces too, but they're relying on him a lot. The Houston Texans have that good defense out there. Should be better next year. The offense was just kind of average. They need more production out of the running game. They need a better quarterback. They got the better quarterback. Now we're hoping that the run game's going to be better. They got a great, option in Will Fuller out there because, obviously Andre Johnson's gone. This is a team that should be better. They should be able to take this division away and just run away with it because this is a good team. Not amazing. Let's not get too carried away here. Don't get too carried away, guys. This isn't we're not talking number 1 or number 2 seed. They're going to be a good team. They've got this division.
They've just made improvements to this team that are going to make them a solid choice as a division winner or a division favorite, I should say.
A pretty obvious choice.
Yeah. Because, I mean, they've got to deal with the same schedule, and the way I see their schedule at the beginning is if they can get through the first 5 games, they'll be fine. First game at home against Chicago, that's going to be the one, are the Chicago Bears who we thought they were. Because that's going to be our first seeing of this front 7 that me and you are high on, even though I'm not a Bears fan.
Hard thing about it, too, is that's going to be a good competition for Brock Osweiler. Was he good? Was he worth that money when he's getting that newly paid for pass rush of the Chicago Bears?
Then you get the Chiefs, who are going to be a good team this year. Then you get a Thursday night game in Foxborough. However, a good thing for the Texans, Tom Brady, as of right now, not going to play that game. Well, I say
Jimmy Garoppolo.
I say as of right now because let's be honest, we've been in this story before where we were talking about teams. Oh, Tom Brady's not going to be there.
Maybe we'll be there next year. Maybe we'll be there next year again.
Maybe we can be there next year again. But then the Titans, probably their easiest game of this stretch, and then at Minnesota. If they can get through those 5 games, they'll be golden. That's their toughest. I know they've got Indy and Denver coming up next, but Denver isn't the same team that we thought that they were last year.
Well, we don't know what the quarterback is anymore.
Come on. As of right now, it's, what's his name?
Mark Sanchez.
It's Sanchez and Trevor Siemian, who is the kid out of Northwestern 2 years ago, I believe. If Simeon's in an open competition with Mark Sanchez to win that job, come on. Paxton Lynch is the guy. That's why you drafted him. Denver's not going to be anything this year. So that's why I look at Denver, and it's not as... I mean, the only thing that game garners for me, it's a Monday night game, and Brock the Cock comes back home. Well, comes back to what home was last year.
He's going to want some vengeance is what he's going to want.
So the Texans are going to shit all over the Broncos. And then I look at their second half, and yeah, there's a few, like, that's the bulk of their divisional games with 4, but even their non-conference games, the Bengals and the Packers, that's about it. I mean, it's just those first maybe 5-6 games.
I mean, the Jaguars could possibly make some
those
tough.
Those are some wild cards. Some
they
joker
can make
cards.
it difficult there. But it's pretty much the Houston Texans' division to lose at this point.
It's theirs to win, theirs to lose. Whatever they want to do with it is just, I mean, it all depends on what are we going to see. Can Brock the Cock be the guy when he doesn't have Peyton Manning above him or below him on the depth chart? Without Peyton Manning on the roster to motivate Brock, can he still be the man?
I mean, really, this team, we know what the defense is. We know what some of the weapons are. Mm-hmm. It really does come down to, and I hate to give it all 100% to the young quarterback here, but it really comes down to, were you worth that money? Yes, are you the real deal?
Especially when you're a quarterback. Are you worth the money? Look at Tannehill.
Yeah.
Look at Tannehill. He got his big money. About Tannehill. Are you worth the money? Are the Tannehills worth the money? That's the big question.
And Ryan Tannehill is getting such a huge break, and he's just being given so many opportunities to prove it, and he's been really lucky in the NFL that wants immediate success.
That the Dolphins haven't been like, no, screw you.
Forget it.
We haven't done anything. We're not going to work with you.